Chapter 25: Miscommunication and Information Decay. When societies lose the ability to think, transmit, and act on truth. Miscommunication is the erosion of a civilization's cognitive machinery. Information decay is the collapse of its ability to generate, transmit, and interpret accurate signals. Together, they sever the neural pathways that allow a society to perceive reality. A nation can survive physical strain, demographic contraction, or political conflict if its information environment remains coherent. But once communication fidelity breaks, the society becomes cognitively blind. It cannot diagnose problems, cannot coordinate responses, and cannot execute solutions. Decline becomes irreversible because the system no longer knows what is happening. Information decay begins with a simple structural requirement: high-complexity systems demand high-fidelity communication. Hospitals need accurate records, courts need reliable testimony, infrastructure agencies need precise technical documentation, markets need transparent pricing signals, security services need honest reporting, governments need truthful briefings. When capability density is high, these information streams remain coherent because skilled operators maintain precision under load. When capability declines, communication deteriorates automatically. The first layer of decay arises inside institutions. Emails become ambiguous. Reports lose structure. Briefings omit key facts. Internal notes become vague, error-prone, or unintentionally misleading. Supervisors receive summaries that hide crucial details. A minor ambiguity in a police report leads to mischarges. A poorly worded triage note produces a clinical mistake. An imprecise engineering description delays a project. Each micro-failure is small, but thousands occur daily. Internal miscommunication is the earliest sign that the institutional nervous system is fraying. The second layer is hierarchical distortion. Information degrades as it moves upward. Analysts soften bad news to avoid consequences. Managers reshape findings to match political narratives. Directors strip nuance to fit time and attention constraints. Ministers sanitize reports to maintain public confidence. By the time information reaches senior decision-makers, it is a curated fiction optimized for political safety rather than truth. Late-stage hegemonic powers are particularly vulnerable. Internal reports become propaganda for internal consumption, leading leaders blind at precisely the moment clarity is most critical. The third layer is external distortion. As institutions lose competence, they increasingly communicate through PR filters rather than technical channels. Spokespeople replace subject matter experts. Messaging replaces analysis. Failures are reframed as communication challenges rather than operational problems. Hospitals conceal decline behind scripted statements. Police departments use press offices to manage optics. Universities speak in ideological cliches. Regulatory agencies drown reality in jargon. Public distrust intensifies because citizens sense the gap between lived reality and official narratives. Information decay accelerates when educational standards fall. As literacy, numeracy, and analytical skill weaken, the public becomes less able to understand complex information. Governments and media respond by simplifying communication, reducing nuance, amplifying emotional appeals, avoiding technical explanation. This trains citizens to expect shallow information, which further degrades discourse. Media ecosystems adapt by maximizing engagement through outrage, fear, and simplification. The result is a population that processes information through emotion rather than analysis. Digital platforms magnify this decay. Algorithms optimize for engagement, not accuracy. Popularity becomes the primary filter. Content that provokes strong emotion outranks content that conveys truth. Complex problems are encoded into memes, narratives, and conspiratorial templates. Citizens inhabit parallel cognitive worlds where the same event carries incompatible meanings. The information ecosystem fragments, and the society loses the ability to reason collectively. A deeper structural process then emerges: semantic drift. Key terms: justice, science, safety, rights, misinformation, democracy, no longer share unified meaning across institutions or demographics. Each group uses the same words but refers to different concepts. Without shared semantics, communication collapses at the conceptual level. Coordination becomes impossible because actors cannot even agree on the definitions underpinning policy or law. Semantic drift marks the cognitive fragmentation of the culture itself. Information decay becomes dangerous when it corrupts feedback loops. Functional systems rely on accurate failure reporting, safety audits, performance metrics, whistleblower channels, early warning indicators. When these signals weaken, errors accumulate faster than institutions can detect them. Infrastructure departments miss early cracks in bridges. Hospitals misreport infection rates. Regulatory agencies rely on outdated or inconsistent datasets. Political leaders act on distorted summaries. The system loses situational awareness and becomes incapable of self-correction. Healthcare reveals this clearly. Electronic records filled with inconsistent data, entered by insufficiently trained staff, create datasets hospitals cannot trust. Administrators cannot accurately track infection patterns, patient flow, or resource demand. Policies become guesses masquerading as decisions. A health system without clean data is a society without clinical vision. National security shows the catastrophic version. Intelligence degraded by political filtering, rushed analysis, or low-capability fieldwork produces strategic blindness. Military failures throughout history, misjudged invasions, underestimated adversaries, missed warnings, often stem from corrupted information channels rather than tactical incompetence. Markets also depend on communication fidelity. When accounting standards erode, regulators lack expertise, and firms manipulate metrics to meet incentives, financial reports lose meaning. Investors demand higher risk premiums. Capital allocation becomes inefficient. Economic stagnation emerges not from lack of capital but from lack of trustworthy information. Information decay also creates noise inflation. Institutions produce vast amounts of low-quality communication, memos, guidelines, updates, press releases, that overwhelm the system's ability to extract signal. Citizens cannot distinguish truth from political messaging. Decision-makers drown in data they lack the capability to interpret. Communication volume rises as communication quality falls. Noise becomes the dominant product of the system. A compounding factor is communication asymmetry. Low-capability individuals generate excessive communication, emails, queries, requests, that require high-capability individuals to clarify or correct. As the supply of high-capability individuals shrinks, the system's cognitive bandwidth collapses. A small number of competent operators cannot maintain coherence across an information ecosystem flooded with low-fidelity signals. The cognitive overhead becomes unmanageable. At advanced stages, miscommunication becomes institutionalized. Agencies issue contradictory guidelines. Courts generate inconsistent rulings. Ministries interpret laws differently. Municipal and national governments provide conflicting instructions. Hospitals follow incompatible protocols. Schools teach contradictory curricula. Citizens experience governance as informational case. Law becomes unpredictable not from malice, but from cognitive failure. Eventually, information decay becomes self-reinforcing. Bad communication yields bad decisions. Bad decisions produce more miscommunication. Institutions respond by issuing more rules, more guidelines, more messaging, intensifying the noise. The system becomes cognitively paralyzed. Coherence becomes impossible. Precision becomes unattainable. The final stage arrives when society can no longer recognize reality even when confronted with it. Demographic decline, fiscal strain, institutional dysfunction, infrastructure failures, each is reframed through ideological narratives rather than analytical frameworks. Leaders interpret empirical data as political messaging. Citizens select narratives based on identity rather than accuracy. Media converts fact patterns into emotional stories. At this point, the civilization loses its cognitive immune system. It cannot perceive threats, cannot understand itself, and cannot course correct. In the next chapter, we examine incentive distortion, how declining capability, rising complexity, political fragmentation, and information decay warp institutional incentives, causing individuals and agencies to act in ways that accelerate decline rather than stabilize the system.